We interrupt this playing of Street Fighter 6, I believe it is,
Yep,
to bring you this brief, very brief interlude of an actual AOS podcast. Oh my goodness.
Listen, there is 3 things as far as hobby in my life that's enjoying Taylor Swift. I'm a base Taylor Swift enjoyer. There's Street Fighter 6 and there's Warhammer. And I'm going to show you something. This is all the Warhammer I have. And you know what I'd rather be doing right now? Street Fighter 6 or watching Taylor Swift. So you know what I'm doing Friday? I'm going to the Taylor Swift concert. You know what I'm doing when I'm done this podcast? I'm playing Street Fighter 6.
Wow, what a testament to that quality packaging. Oh my goodness.
Welcome to the Warhammer podcast. Called Strength Hammer, episode 58. Where Neo starts calling me out my bullshit early.
There's nothing wrong with some Street Fighter. I'm a avid player of Street Fighter 2, which to me is the only Street Fighter that's ever existed.
I think 6 would be the second one to exist for you. It's really good. It is fantastic.
I'd love to play it. I have no method of playing it actually.
Well, come over to my house. I have the sticks. I have the PC. I have the internet. I guess I don't know.
Careful, you may unleash a monster.
No, I guess as an aside, yes. Coming back from Kansas City US Open when Street Fighter released while I was away, which I mistimed that because I thought it released the week after. I was jonesing the whole time, got through, had a good time. Kansas City, maybe I'll do my thoughts in the hobby time, but yeah, like I've just been obsessed with Street Fighter lately because that is where I've realized my competitive nature lies, is in fighting games. It's not in Warhammer anymore. Not in this place. I want to do narrative stuff. I want to have fun. I want to hang out with buddies and roll dice. But Street Fighter, I want to win. So that's why it's, I guess, a big part of my hobby right now, because that's the only place competitive nature exists for me.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
Yep. But anyway, let's talk. It's been a couple weeks. The last podcast we had, I interviewed Ben Mudge, a wonderful human being, brother from another mother over in Northern Ireland.
Absolutely. Twinsies.
Yeah. He's delight. He's doing a great YouTube series of his own. More Warhammer. Go check that out. If you look at the last podcast, you can see all the links to that. But Neil, it's been a while, so you might have a lot going on. Do you want to start with hobby time first or fitness first? Whichever will be shorter for you.
Yeah, well, it's going to be the fitness for sure for me.
Of course.
I did not achieve my goal of actually lifting up the weights 2 times a week. However, we have started out on some light jogging, some walking with the kiddo. Okay. So my daughter just she went out and she did she did a tryout for her soccer team, and she made soccer team. We just found out tonight. So
fantastic. What position is she old enough to do? Position?
They're not doing positions
yet.
She's going into 5th grade, so she'll play positions, but she'll play a lot of them. So,
right.
But she needs to get her booty in shape to play those positions. So I need to be a good example, and I need to take her out, and we need to do some running. So
yeah. I mean, what does a period look like for 5th grade soccer? I'm assuming it's not 45 minutes, or is it?
It is probably closer to a half an hour, although it might actually be 40.
Okay, but it's a smaller field, though.
They don't play on a big field. They're playing 9 players, I think, not 11.
Now, are they playing on a smaller field because they're kids, we want to be calm, or is it because anyone that's willing to ref is not in shape enough to keep up with a full-size pitch?
I'd be surprised, man. These refs get around.
Okay, all right. I'm just checking.
I'm always surprised when these fat guys running around there refereeing, man. I'm like, I'd drop by halftime, but this old guy's still going. You know, it tells you a little bit of something about myself there, I guess.
Listen, in Western Pennsylvania, I don't know what's like over in Ohio. Western Pennsylvania, there is two types of coaches for every sports team. The guy who is jacked and really in shape, and the guy
Oh,
who never moves out of his chair except for to come coach, but he's very knowledgeable.
oh yeah.
So
Yeah, I was. I saw a couple coaches in the rec league over there that my daughter was playing, and you had that. Then some guy looked like Dolph Lundgren, and I'm
yeah.
like, oh my god, that's the biggest guy I've ever seen in my life.
Yep. Yep. Oh.
But yeah, that's been my fitness routine there. Outside of I don't know, does happy hour count? Does going to happy hour count? Salmon some Miller lattes?
It counts this week because this is the week of the Taylor Swift concert for me. So literally everything counts. I don't care.
There we go. All right, I like to hear that.
There
It's
we
a
go.
cheat week.
It's cheat week. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Let's see. My fitness. When I went to Kansas City, I didn't go to the gym at all. I mean, I've been sticking to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But since I traveled out Wednesday, I didn't go Wednesday or Friday, and I came back Monday, didn't go Monday. So it just essentially took a week off. Since then, have had a full week back. Plus, the weights went from feeling super heavy because I didn't touch the circles for a week to feeling stronger than I ever did. So maybe my body needed a short break. I don't know. I don't think I've been going that hard, but just continuing on with that, just kind of standard 3 days a week, hit the, push, pull, legs, that typical stuff. Not breaking any new technologies with fitness. I'm just doing what's tried and trusted and works for me.
Sure.
But more interestingly enough, hobby time. Despite my Street Fighter 6ing and my excitement for the Taylor Swifting, I've gotten lots of hobby in too. Not just the KC Open, but Neil, do you want to go first, or do you want me to just ramble on about all my stuff?
Well, first.
Okay.
I've actually I've done a little bit here. So I put together 6 engine riggers. I've put together 10 a base unit of what do you call them, the Arcanauts, and I put together a frigate. And
that's a lot.
I have built and primed those. I still have actually 6 more riggers to put together, and they would have been done. However, with us being this close to the GHB, I've decided to wait and see how the points adjust before I build said riggers. So we'll see how it goes. Right now, I'm pretty happy with my list, but I am almost positive that will have to change. So in that amount of time, I have also downloaded on Audible Blight Slayer, and I'm currently listening to Blight Slayer right now, which
nice. No spoilers. I have it on my nightstand. I haven't cracked it open yet.
Oh my god, so far pretty good. I'd say it starts out, it's a lot like every book so far, so they haven't deviated from the course, but
that's fine. I'm worried about I'm worried that Malineth is permanently dead. I'd be sad because she was such a cool character. I'm okay if they want to write a different character in and she's gone for a while, but if you absolutely confirm death for her, I'll be sad as a K-Knight enthusiast. But if she's just not there because of her noble sacrifice in the last book, but we didn't see her die, so that's kind of where I'm I don't want to know yet.
Yeah. I will say, it is mentioned, but I will leave it at that.
Okay, that's fair. I appreciate that.
Outside of that, I have been painting a little bit and finally got the paintbrushes back out, and we have this lovely little lass. She's coming along. These are the base coats for this boot.
So good.
You can see that on one side of this. If you peer very closely to the side there, you may see painted rivets, whereas on the other side here, you do not, because that is a special piece of hobby hell that you either decide to do and put yourself through, and then once you dot one rivet, you got to dot the other 1,500. And that's what I did. So I have all the other boats have them dotted, so this one has to get it too. So that is what I have done so far. Outside of that, I have played a game. So I played a little test game with my list against the fabulous John DeCoulos, and I asked him to bring his hardest army because I wanted to do a little tourney prep.
Okay.
And he played me with his hard Sylvaneth list, which he's actually beaten Cole with, although I'm not sure Cole brought his greatest army there either against him. But the army that I play with Caradron is a combat-focused army. And so the last thing I wanted to do was to not get into combat with the combat-focused army. It is Barrack Zahn. So when they charge in, all the not sky wardens, but oh geez, whatever the keyword is for basically every guy that can fit in a Caradron boat, it gives them +1 to hit and +1 to wound on the charge.
Okay.
So I've got all the riggers, so they're hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, 2 attacks apiece, -2 rend, D3 damage. So I did take them into a unit of those the big bug guys that heal from Sylvaneth. Help me out here.
Big bug guys that heal.
They're on like
the dragon. Yeah. The cavalry. Yeah, I got you.
So after having wiped out pretty much a unit of the hunters with the scythes, came in there, shot most of those off, shot off his the lady with the pipe who does the AOE attack.
Oh,
she's
yeah.
gone.
Yep.
So and he even rolled up to bring her back and rolled the 1, so she was dead. So I basically carved through 1,000 points of his army between my shooting and my charges.
Ouch.
Pretty good start for turn 1.
Yep.
And then he also had Gotrek in his army. Now I made a choice here, and it turns out when you have the opportunity to kill Gotrek easily,
you take it.
Do that.
You should take it immediately.
I did not take it because I have not played against Gotrek enough. And then I suffer the consequences of a massive double turn where he, each time he attacked, he killed 9 engine riggers. And then after the double turn, he killed 2 boats. So 2 of the frigates. Because I had them way too close to each other. So with our topic of the day today, we'll talk about how you should keep playing the same army and learn from your mistakes. And so I have made a few modifications potentially.
Okay.
But but we're going to stick pretty close to this list as long as we can, GHB allowing.
Right.
So so it was a lot of fun. I got Gotrek down to 1 wound, 2 wounds left.
But
couldn't finish the job.
Yeah, but still alive.
Yeah, that's the problem. He's got to go.
Yeah.
So Caradron have a Celestial Burst Grenade that takes off a ward for a turn, and that combined with some Phosphorite Bombets can actually make some pretty good short work of Gotrek Gurnison.
Yes,
it
can.
That is what I should have done. That is what I should have done.
Well, if we mirror up, at NashCon, I'll bring my KO Gotrek list, and you can do that.
Yes.
I have to say, not to interrupt, but because we mentioned it before, but myself, you, and Matt from Big M are all taking KO, and we're kind of having our own little tournament within the tournament where we're all trying to see who's going to be the best KO player out of the 3 of us. We have our own little award. It's silly and it's fun. Matt's going.
Doesn't matter if we all go 0-5.
Exactly.
Right?
Who's the best 0-5? You're going all combat, and I love it. Matt's going all shooty with Thunderers, and I love it. I am taking random bullshit. I have very little hope of being able to place higher than you guys, other than random luck. Like I'm rolling the dice. Lady Luck better be with me on this, because here's the other thing. You and Matt have been practicing. Because some of the games I've gotten with KO this year. 0.
I have had 2.
It's 2 more than me.
2 since no. I guess just 1 since Adeptuum.
See, here's the thing. I could get 1 in tomorrow for my usual weekly game night. But I'm choosing not to because I'd rather do a narrative thing with Daughters of Cain. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the win. It's fun.
As long as one of us beats Matt, that's all that matters.
Right.
Oh, that's good. What any other hobby going on? I mean, like that's a lot. Like that's a lot of building. That's a lot of painting. Getting some games in is always good. You're focused.
These little bastards, man. They are a lot. I forgot how much they are. I am very thankful that I painted most of that army in lockdown COVID times, because I know that I would not have been able to make it through doing that many boats now at this point. So
yeah, like that
1 is enough.
Yeah, like I'm thinking I have 2 frigates and 1 gun hauler. I'm like, I might do another gun hauler eventually, at most.
But yeah, they're a lot. Even the gun haulers are a lot.
Yeah, but no, that's fantastic.
That's me.
Let's see my hobby. I'll rattle through my actual hobby very quickly and talk mostly KC here. Painted up the lion. I painted up some intercessors, Primaris Gravis tank. I don't know what it's called. It looked cool. It was fun. Tanks are fun. I finished all my secret GW project stuff. It's in boxes down here. If you're on YouTube, you can see me pointing at it in the dark corner. It's not super secret, as in it's not something that's already released. It's just secret, as in it's a blind thing. It's at Gen Con, so that's why it's secret. But it's done, so the only hobby I have is deciding on which old world army I want to start. And like I said, I have 2 heroes. A High Gladiatrix and that Lumineth character, and one of them will lead my... I'm either going to go High Elves or I'm going to go Dark Elves for Old World, and that's going to be like the crux point, kit bash that character and go from there. And it will be a Terathi. I just got to figure that out.
Sure.
Outside of that other hobby, we'll just talk KC. I did the vlog. It went up last week. Came back from traveling, a little short vlog. Great first US Open of the year. Setup was incredibly smooth. Teardown was incredibly smooth. The event was incredibly smooth. There was a few back-end stuff, like, because here's the thing. This was also the same weekend as AOS Worlds. So our 2 judges that we have on the US team who understand the team format, because we were doing a team format for this event. Both of them were AOS Worlds, so the 2 people who have never been to a team event were TOing the team event. And now, granted, nice. Game by game, it's just the same thing as a GT. And there was also a small GT happening. You're just answering basic rules questions. Most of the stuff's laid out at the start. Here's how scoring works. Here's how pairing works. And as soon as you explain that once, everybody's good. We had amazing... Like, I mean, the Age of Sigmar community is just phenomenal. But, like, all the players, all the teams were all just simply amazing because, especially on the team side, near the end, we had a few back-end stuff where the app... there's no app that actually handles team events easily. There's always going to be something you have to verify and verify and verify. So we had a few back-end stuff that we corrected along the way. I mean, kudos to the players themselves. They caught something. They're just like, hey, this shouldn't be the case. This is wrong. We missed on verification. All the coaches came to us and said, this is what it should be. This is how we want to do it, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. And like we talked about it as a team and brought them in and just like, perfect. Yep, they were 100% right. We realized it, corrected the issue, moved on. No, there's room for improvement. I will always say that. And I asked for feedback, but players took everything with grace and had a wonderful time and played to the spirit of the event, which that's all I could ask for as a TO on any event. But like I said, the trip to KC was fun. It was beautiful days to fly both down and back. It was fun getting to see the city. We only went out one night that week, like as kind of like a little group, because we'd all been there literally last November. So we didn't really need to explore. We just kind of hit the spots we liked. But
hashtag change location to the Midwest or to Ohio or
technically that is the Midwest, sir.
Well,
I'm fighting for a
Pittsburgh
Pittsburgh one.
Midwest.
I know. A Pittsburgh one would be great. A Columbus one would be probably the best, honestly.
Oof, love a Columbus one.
Yeah, I think that would be a instant sellout. But no, outside of that, there's also lots of 10th edition stuff for 40K was popping off. They were doing live games. I got to moderate the chat, hang out, watch that, learn about that, see some new models, check out the Leviathan box set early. And just catch up with most of the US Open team. It's nice. The next one we have is Tacoma coming up next month in July, which is the biggest one we've had ever. I think every event, Sigmar, 40K, Kill Team, Blood Bowl, like all of it, it's the biggest we've had at any of these events for each individual, which then correlates to the biggest event we've ever had as a US Open. It's going to be maddening. I think there's over 400 tickets sold for 40K alone.
Wow.
Just absolutely crazy. It's all singles, but it's I'm glad the whole team's going to be there, because it's going to be
it's a lot of table.
It is. Yeah, super stoked for that. Outside of that, like I said, Kansas City, great. Outside of that, yeah, I've been playing lots of Street Fighter 6, and Friday, which is the day...
Doesn't count as hobby.
What? Yeah, it does.
Doesn't count as hobby.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Because I get to play with my girl, Cammy. Uh,
All right, you're free to go.
All right, I'll see you later. No. Also, as if you're on YouTube, I'm just gonna sit here. I'm gonna light my special candle my friend Gail got me.
Oh my god, Jesus Christ!
Because Friday, as ow. It's not how you like candles. Friday, as you're listening to this, which is when it's released, I'll be at the Taylor Swift concert in Pittsburgh. I'll let this burn for a little bit over here, safely away from my hair.
I have heard that people who do not have tickets to these events are like going outside of the venue, like still like parking near the venue.
Yep.
And there's like thousands upon thousands who are just sitting outside the venue and listening. I'm talking like 60,000. Like, yeah, I'm talking like a lot of people.
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough to get a ticket. I was hunting tickets. I found one within the price range. I sold Warhammer models I had. I'd never really sell Warhammer models. This, to me, was worth it because I had so much. I sold Warhammer stuff I had extra, pretty much, like, to fund that ticket. So it was all kosher in my mind for that. But it's a sold-out concert. I'm going to the Friday one. It's going to be Friday, Saturday. Both concerts are sold out. Heinz Field... It's... Acrisure, whatever it's called. We call it Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. Deal with it. It seats 68,000 people. Both shows are sold out. And yes, you're right. People often sit outside of her concerts because she has the big screen. It's always football stadiums, so they're usually open air, and you can hear it. Now, that said, a lot of places in Pittsburgh, like the town hall, the cops, even like the stadium stuff, have been like messaging out on social media like, hey, we asked that you don't do that on the side of town where like, because like, Pittsburgh, if you Google Pittsburgh, it's three rivers that connect, and there's the North Shore, that's the point, whatever you want to call it, but there's not room to fit an extra 3,000 people if there's 68,000 people trying to find places to be there. Like I even had to reserve my parking spot. Like it's like, you know, I was like, I'm getting everything I can. By the way. Exactly. And also I reserved my parking spot so I can go in like right around like lunchtime, because I'm going there as soon as possible. And I'll just walk around and drink beer until the concert. That's fine with me, because I do not want to deal with getting in and being late. I'll deal with being home at 3 a.m. That's fine. But there's not enough room for that. So I'm hoping people don't try to do that, or at least they park on the other side of the river and walk over one of the bridges, because it still will suck, but it won't suck as much because there's no place to put like a bunch of extra cars in Pittsburgh, the way our city's set up. But yes, I am very excited for that. So check out my Instagram. You can see it here on YouTube, or it's at @strengthhammer_. I'll put so much stuff probably up on Instagram stories. I'll put a few things on Twitter, but Instagram's better for this type of crap. So, Neil, do you want me to keep talking about Kansas City or Taylor Swift or Street Fighter 6, or do you want to get on the main topic?
Yeah, let's get on to the main topic here.
I figured you were going to say that. Neil, what's the main topic?
One that I'm very excited about, too. I like this topic.
It's a fun one. Like, everybody, I think, has heard about it. It comes and goes. Like, you forget about it, you remember it, and you go, oh, yeah, that's kind of cool. And it popped up on my radar again recently, so that's why I suggested it as a topic, because it's been in my mind, especially for Old World coming up here, but also just more, I look at how many armies I have personally. Neil, you're very good at being able to let go of armies. I'm not.
It's hard when I do it, but I can do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it took me for Taylor Swift to tour and tickets that cost more than I wanted to spend for me to finally sell Warhammer models I've had painted. So yeah, you've done it without that.
Yes, that's true.
And you've probably done it.
Generally, I sell them for more Warhammer, so then I have to repaint again. So yeah,
right. So yeah, Stillmania. In our hearts, it's a great concept. Yeah. Well, actually, you don't even need to do that, because if you're watching on YouTube, boom, it's on the screen right now. You can't see myself or Neil, but we can see the top of Neil's head.
There it is.
Which is perfect. I didn't.
Gord.
Let me. I'll
it's like looking into the sun.
Just that little bit. Nope, that didn't work. Nope. Doing it live. There we go. Now you can't see much of anything. So Stillmania. Neil, do you want to run through what Stillmania is, and we can go back and forth on the bullet points of what it actually is as a
I'm just going to
format for
read it right
wargaming?
out for people, just in case you're not looking at this. It's a gentleman by the name of Nigel Stillman. This is way back in the day, well known for playing in the spirit of the game. This is his personal opinion on the ultimate spirit of wargaming. So, if you are a meta chaser, this is not for you.
Yep.
This is, it's really talking about basically, when it boils it down, is picking an army, sticking with painting that army, painting it well, hobbying it well as you can, customizing it if you're capable of such a thing, and then just playing that army and playing it and playing it and playing it and playing it, and not making a ton of modifications, or really, if you really stick to the full balls and bones of this, not changing it at all.
Yeah.
So
like he has a pretty hardcore, no veering off of that lane once you're on it mentality, which is very respectful, because most of us are hobby butterflies. I always have a core army that I go to for every game system, but I have other armies because I enjoy the process. So, right. To me, this is something I want to get back to, because I'm at the point too, I don't want to buy another army just to have it. I have 3 armies right now I've never taken to a major tournament.
Yeah.
Kind of feels like a waste. Like, I didn't waste I played games with them, I hobbied them, but did I need to have those armies? No. But also now I can't really part with them because I enjoyed the process too much. Unless Taylor Swift comes around again, and then sure.
There you go.
But do you want to go bullet point by bullet point? I'm fine with that. Yeah.
So, and this is actually, the article is bullet pointed like down for each one of these things. So first one is pick your army to just under 2,000 points. So I think that's a pretty good spot to start at, because if you're going to play in tournaments or anything like that, you are probably going to be at 2,000 points. Obviously, so we're going to talk about, as we kind of go through this too, modifications that we would make to these bullet points, things we like, things we might change, things we would keep. I think 2,000 points is a good place to be at. We still use that in AOS. If you're playing something like Old World, or if you're we don't know what the points are there yet.
But whatever your standard size army is kind of what they have. Right. And always be below it, not over it, just so for the fact that you're always good.
Right. Yeah, 100%. So I think that's a keeper. Move on to the next one there.
Write down your roster and never amend it again.
That's I can tell you, Matt, Big M himself would never stick to that one.
Big M could not do he couldn't do any of this. All right, Matt can't do any of this, because Matt will bring a list, Matt will lose a game, Matt will switch armies. That's what Matt does. That's his play style. So that's perfectly fine. But
it's not even a hobby butterfly. What would you call that? That's kind of like a hobby
curmudgeon?
Quitter?
Oh, quitter. Big we'll start calling him Big Q, Big Quitter.
Oh no.
I can't wait for his comments. Hey Matt, if you're listening, like and subscribe, please.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right. And I don't want to go personally, Neil, whenever we go through these, go into them to the level you want to. I have actually prepared, like I said, I highly encourage, if you're listening to this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on Spotify or anywhere else, check out the YouTube video for this one, because there's going to be a lot of visual for this one specifically. I've created revision and my own version of this that will go in. I can talk in more detail. So, but as we're going, Neil, since you didn't have time to prepare that because I didn't tell you to do that, more on me, my fault. Go into the level of detail of how you would change things specifically. I'll stay very light until we're through this. Okay.
Yeah. So, for me, write down your roster and never amend it again. I don't know. I do have a lot of fun with the list building phase of it, but I feel like you could have multiple lists, and those lists that you initially write, you keep, right? And don't change off of those. Like have for my Caradron army, as much as this article, like I can kind of take an army off my shelf and put it into this, I would say it's this army that I have right here. I've hobbied it to the nth degree. And originally, the original thought was it was going to be all boats, and it was going to be all boats forever. So that is a way, if I stuck to that, that I could kind of pick an all boats list. Unfortunately, they've made the army kind of more fun to play outside of, to me, just the boats. So I like what they've done with this book. So I will not be sticking with just the boats, although I may keep a single list that has that all kind of, putz around with and have fun with. So yeah, that's as far as I want to go with that.
Yep, fun. Well, the next one I think I'm a big fan of. Make sure it fits the background. Now, I think that's less concerning in the current state with Age of Sigmar. If you look at old fantasy battles, you could easily fall into a trap where you had the shooty orc list, which wasn't very orky, but it was the best list. Sigmar, I don't think we have this much of an issue, so I do like this one. You want your army to look like how it should look like. The only
the old like orcs and goblins army where like it's a how many of the goblin heroes with the crowns of command, so that the army's supposed to squabble, right? That's I think what he's getting at with this is like don't try to massage your army to get rid of all of the drawbacks. Like enjoy the drawbacks, right?
Yes, or just hammer home like a very specific thing. Like the one call out I can see right now is Marathi and the Bow Snakes, which isn't as much of an issue in the current meta, but Daughters of Cain being a shooting army doesn't really fit the theme. I know it's the best, but so that's one reason why I never played it, because I very much agree to this tenet here. But
sure, I do as well. All right, what's next? We've got collect and paint the army, give it 3 coats of gloss varnish, and then never touch it with a paintbrush ever again.
Just take this whole bullet point and throw it in the sun. That is a time ago. This isn't anything against Nigel. At the time, this was what was in vogue. But now, no sir, Rebop.
I have never actually gloss varnished a model ever. I've never varnished a model.
I've accidentally gloss varnished a model, and then I corrected it with a matte varnish immediately after.
That's gloss varnish sounds terrible.
It does,
but varnish in general, like every army that I ever have, I always think, I'm going to go back to that and I'm going to fix a little something on it. I never actually do, so it might as well be varnished. But I don't know. I don't really care for that. I mean, if I want to go and touch something up or spruce something up, or let's say I've got a model that like just did something crazy good, right? And I want to paint something on it, like if you look back at your game with Mike with your harpy.
Oh yeah, put that orc skull right on that base.
Right? You got to do something on there, right? You got to change something on it. So I'd say not so much on this bullet point for me.
I agree, and we'll go into that on my end. But moving on to the next point, give every character and regiment a name.
I wholeheartedly believe in this one. I would do this in every list except I'm on the app quite a bit, and the app you have to pay for it or whatever to have that ability
Warhammer Plus. You'd be on Warhammer Plus. Yep.
Warhammer Plus, right? Which I had at one point, but I no longer have. So I cannot do that. But I will do War Scroll Builder, and I can do that with War Scroll Builder. So
sure.
If you have a favorite army, I would say this is definitely a thing to do. It also gives you that Path to Glory feel whenever you do this. And if you ever do play Path to Glory, you're good. You already got the names of your units and everything else.
This is definitely one I agree with, and I don't practice what I'm preaching on this, so I'm going to do that going forward, starting with my Daughters of Cain army specifically. But so that's that's. I mean, I have Terathi and I have a few character names, but I don't have like regiment names other than one. So correcting that is something I definitely saw fit to do.
I'd love to see somebody with a Soulblight army that names every zombie. You would be my favorite player on planet Earth, and if you do that, please let me know that you've done it. And visual evidence. So that works much better for elite armies, obviously.
Right.
But absolutely.
Well, even if you have like a horde army, like I run Daughters of Cain as a horde army, but like the one regiment I have named, I call it Terathi's Guard. They're my kit bashed, heavily armored witch elves. Sure, I wouldn't name each witch elf, but I should probably name the champion, the musician, and the standard bearer in there. Just makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if I don't,
you just go underneath the base, just write it underneath the base, write the name on it. These boats, I have all my boats named.
Yes, you do.
So when one crashes, I get to salute it on the way down. And
all right, what's next on this list, Neil?
Do not even possess extra or alternative units. Just stick with what you've got.
Get fucked.
Well,
that's my.
I mean, as far as his theory on this goes,
I 100% get it. I to be fair, I tend to just be lazy and not bring allies because if it's not in the book, I don't care. But I still disagree with this because I have done it with allies. So,
I mean, right now too, in the present era, again, this was written in an era where you would get a new book, depending on who you were, maybe once every 10 years, right?
And I'm not sure allies weren't even a thing. So there's occasionally the mercenaries or regiment of renown, but like you couldn't bring like 500 points of this other army. So very different time.
So this is much easier to do. However, in an era where there's a new GHB every 6 months, please don't get me started.
Well, hey, next one's for a year. We're good. Don't you worry.
Is it?
It is. It's confirmed for a year.
Oh, thank God. That is the best news I've had all day. Thank you.
As long as it doesn't have bounty hunters in it. Fucking bounty hunters.
So it was just a little bit too fast for me. I mean, I have literally since I've gotten this book, what have I played? 4 games with this army. I know that's for some of you war gamers out there, that's probably blasphemy, but that's what I can manage.
No, you've had more because I was actually used in Brewhammer.
Was it?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't playing this army of Brewhammer. I was playing.
Sorry, I meant the GHB.
Oh, so yeah, I've had more games in the GHB,
but not
than just
that
the
book
4.
Specifically. Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, not this book specifically, and so yeah.
Anyway,
it's going to be quick. But anyway, I'm happy to hear that. So even at a year, that's a tough thing to do, right? Because points will probably still be getting updated every 6 months.
Correct.
I would imagine.
I would imagine.
So that's going to be a lot of turnaround. Things are going to have to change unless if you really wanted to stick with this, you could just pull units out if you go over. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing at home with friends, sure. But also, usually those, Neil, if we're playing a game and you're just like, hey, I'm 15 points over, like, all right, whatever. Give me the triumph. I'm lower. Like, sure, there you go.
Yeah. Find out if actually the points adjustments actually made any difference.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah. But I think that's pretty much all we have to say on that one, unless you got more.
No, I mean, I will, but in my talks, my rendition of this. So next, make a carrying case that fits the army exactly. Sure, whatever. Like, there's a lot better carrying cases now out in the world, so my carrying case always fits my army always. So sure. So
I don't have any like cutout foam for my boats and everything. I wish I did, but what I've always found with that kind of foam and everything is you have to like get it in there so particularly that I will.
You're more likely to break it than just throwing it in.
Break it, put it into the foam. Yeah. It's kind of like, what the hell did I do this for? And you paid $300 for that foam at the same time. I'm like, that's not my jam, So yeah, not one for me there.
No, it's whatever.
Next up.
Yep, read it.
Fight every battle with the same army and never change anything in it. So a little bit of a rehash here. Yeah. I think that goes with every time we lose a game, every wargamer, I don't care who you are, will place some blame on the list, right? If not most of the blame on the list. Whether that's right or wrong, we all tend to do it. So I think this bullet point is just trying to get you to fight against that urge, right? So to practice with something. Like if I go and I play Bill Zouza and I hand him my army, he will beat me with it.
Right.
Because he's a much better player than I am, right? So does that mean my army was bad, or was it, was it the guy who was piloting it, right? So I think what this is trying to get you to do is be a better pilot of your own army.
Right. It's to understand, okay, you have this unit, you know what it can do, and you know what type of units it can fight against. So as long as you have a basic understanding. So I know my witch elves can put out this much damage. Neil, which is like, what's your elite unit? What's your anvil unit? What's your hammer unit? What has mortal wound saves? What doesn't? Like, understanding that can go, okay, my witch elves can take care of that, no problem. I can that formulates your game plan while you're deploying. It's developing that to know what your units can do reliably, and even if they're like in the low end of the threshold of average, that they can still probably do what you need them to do. I think that's what this bullet point is. I don't agree with never changing, but I get the reasoning of this point.
Right. Don't be so fast to change your list up and do what I did right after I played John and just immediately went in and changed my list.
Delete list, start again. Like, no, yeah, tweak.
I didn't completely change, but I did tweak, you know. So
right, the next one,
I think
fight in big games with just your 2,000 points, and to hell with the odds. This I like.
Yeah, I don't mind this one either.
Yeah, it's I completely get it, and if you can do some cool stuff in a fight with 2,000 points while you're playing against two other people that have 4,000 points, you're gonna tell a heck of a story if you go into the game with the right mindset.
And if you look at psychographic profiles, if you're a Timmy, which I am,
yeah,
this is amazing, right?
Yes.
So you go in there, you do something cool, you know, it made your night. Doesn't matter whether you then got wiped off the, you know, the fact that I almost killed Gotrek Gurnison is cool to me. Exactly. If I had killed Gotrek Gurnison, that's a better moment, but I did not. So yeah, I like this one for sure.
I do too.
And if you're playing 2,000 versus 4,000, it's already a narrative game anyway, so who the hell cares?
Exactly.
So
yeah, and heck, next time you might have 4,000, they might have 2,000, whatever.
Right.
All right, what's next up?
So never vary or change your army in any way. Resist all temptation. I think we can skip this one because we
keep hammering it home. Yeah.
Right. Now here's an interesting one. I'm kind of on the fence with this one. Model every magic item on the character who carries it, no matter what it is. I love the idea. I'm not a green stuffer. I cannot custom make stuff like that. However, I do have a 3D printer now.
Yes.
So the possibilities for doing that kind of stuff is better. But I don't know if you can somehow, you know, smash it together with some different bits or whatever, then perfect. But I do like the idea of having a list, having magic items on your characters. That's that character's magic item, and that gives that character a little bit more life too. You don't change it. This is what he's got. So it's kind of neat.
I'm ashamed that I went away from this because with my high elves, I've done this. I can tell you where the Reaver Bow's at. I can tell you where the Golden Crown is at. I can tell you who has the Book of Hoeth. I can tell you where the Baron of the World Dragon is. I modeled that because that's the mind state I was in as a young hobbyist. And why that went away, I don't know. But actually, this is the bullet point. Whenever I found it again, I went, oh, dear God. I have strayed from my path, and I need to get back on it. Yeah, so to be fair, I am going back not just to the current doc book. I'm going to go back through the last 3 doc books and kit bash in every magic item that's been in those books. And nice. I have after the models have been built. I'm not afraid to kit bash. I've done it before. I'm much better at it now. And the next step past that would be to look at my list. Not every list I've ever played, but every list I've played that I've saved, which is usually ones attached to a lore piece I've written, because they're usually attached to an event. And if there's a generic artifact I put in there, like Arcane Tome, I will model it somewhere in there to match how it should be.
Love it.
So yeah, this one hit hard, so I'm a big fan of it. But moving on. What you see in the army is what you get. Take this literally. And I think this just means no proxies. That's kind of what I got out of it.
If you're a Caradron, right? Like I modeled all of my Thunderers with rifles, right? So right now in the game, everything else is way better than the rifles. However, mine have rifles. So if I'm going to play Thunderers, they have rifles, and I don't deviate from that either. So
I don't either.
Right now, I put one skyhook on one of my engine riggers. Would I rather have had the saw and the pistol? 100% right now. But guess what? I modeled one of them with the skyhook.
And that's what he
We'll
uses.
be hitting at least one guy with a gun butt. We're coming in there, not at 4s and 5s, but at 3s and 4s on the charge.
There you go. Watch out. Now,
Ren 0.
Now, I'm a fan too. I'm the same way with Thunders. I modeled I have 10 Thunderers, so 2 with cannons and the rest have the rifles.
Right.
And I did that because I didn't want to deal with all the bullshit of this unit, this model, this model, this model. I was like, here's all the shots, here's the special weapon. Yeah, I agree with this too. So hard to not go into it. Yeah.
Let's see. Always give your opponent the benefit of the doubt. Now that's an awesome one right there. I can't tell you how many times I'm playing against somebody and I'm thinking to myself, "It does what? That does not sound right." You know.
It's like, but you're like, yeah, sure, all right. I got
whatever. I'm just gonna assume you know what you're doing, right? And so I think that's just like a sportsmanship thing right there.
To me, that's a Sigmar thing. I think our community does that almost wholesale.
Right. If it's something egregious and you notice that, like somebody's just doing the basic rules completely wrong. Okay. Now we got to see.
Yeah, but if someone comes up to me with you bring your new Seraphon, I've never played it, and you're saying it does that, I'm like, all right.
Right.
If I find out later, sure.
Right. Just give it to the other guy. Yeah. I think that's what it's kind of saying, right? Like there's a discrepancy, give it to the other guy.
Yeah. If it's so egregious that it's against the rules, then call it out. But it's not like little things where you're just like, it could be right, but I don't know. Like you don't need to check their book. That's kind of what
you don't need to roll the 4 up, right? Just give it to them.
Yep.
So.
All right, and next one. Who cares if your opponents know your army composition by heart? I mean, that's a good one for like Neil, like me and you, because if we play each other with the same armies, we're probably going to bring the same lists over and over again. Doesn't mean you can't win with it. It just means you have a different strategy and you have to try and keep outthinking your opponent.
Right. Now it's going to be harder. So what? Right? So
yeah, you figure it out. Deal with it.
Right. I like that too.
Get good. Sucks to suck.
Let the only surprise be your deployment and your tactical moves. I think that goes with the last bullet point a little bit there.
It does, but what I also do see from this is that, Neil, you and I do this often. Sometimes our deployment's a surprise to ourselves because we deploy and go, who the hell did this?
Yes. I look at it and I go, oh, well, now that I see it all out here, I really screwed this up.
Well, that was dumb of somebody. All right,
I could have put them all the way up here. Yes. If anybody would like to know what I'm referencing, please go back and watch the Brewhammer episode.
Yes. All right. Shrug off defeat, learn the lessons, and keep on practicing. Play for the fun of playing. We all have that intent. I think even on a competitive level, and we've all forgotten this on some level. I know I can remember distinctly the times there were sharp daggers in my mind that I remember when I forgot about this. And I don't beat myself up over it. I did originally, but I use it as a lesson to remind myself to always remember I get to stand somewhere on planet Earth, breathing air, drinking a beer, making a friend, rolling dice, moving cool models around that I painted for 3 hours. That's a pretty fucking good 3 hours. Like in the scope of what could be going on in anything. That's pretty good. Right. I don't care if I lose here because I'm living a dream life and no one can stop me.
That game I just played against John lasted an hour and a half, maybe not even that, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. And it was a blast. I knew when I took that charge in there, this is either going to work or it's not. Once found out it didn't, there's the hand. Yeah. We just laughed like hell about it. It was.
Oh, I mean, sure. My Drukari army for 40K. It has one mission. I go first or second. I either deploy off the board or I deploy on the board. I immediately redeploy right next to you, get out of my boats, and I charge you. And I either kill you or I don't. It's like, sometimes you just want to do the risks. Right. And like I said, if I lose, I'm like, okay, cool.
And for a gamer like me who has not had a ton of games with the Caradron Overlords, right, that was actually still a very much quite the learning game because it is against my usual play style to go so aggressive. I have to force myself to do those kind of things. So it's kind of nice to play a game where you're not worried about it. Whatever happens, we're going to have fun with this. And then, but you can also learn something from it too. So I feel like I did, and we'll take that forward into the next game.
Exactly. And do you want to finish up with the last bullet point here?
When you win, the excellence of your generalship will be beyond a doubt.
100%.
Right. If you have done all these things, if you haven't, I mean, if you play the same list all the time, like if I was playing Caradron Overlord's boats and somehow I beat one of you guys, because it shouldn't win ever, then it won because I did something pretty exceptional.
You made the right gambles at the right time.
Right. And maybe the dice went the right way. Who knows? But either way, we won't say that it's the dice. We'll say that it is our amazing generalship, and all of the practice games we've had with it have led to this most splendid of moments.
Right. So what I will say from this is, Nigel Stillman, thank you for giving us this template. There's a lot of good in here. There's a few things that are dated, but that's beside the point. Times change and things change. But I think this has been a formative thing for many people over time. And it's something like I said, I want to get back to, but I'm going to bring up some small revisions here on the screen. If you're watching on the YouTube, Neil, you have it in front of you too. So I did some gentle crossing out and some hard crossing out. First and foremost, the write down the roster, never change it again. I did a soft cross out on that. I said, and I think we both kind of agree on that, because write down the roster, when I thought about this, it's like, okay, what do you want the core of your army to be? Like, make sure it fits the background, the next bullet point. So like me, I'm like, I want lots of witch elves. That's my theme for Daughters of Cain.
Yeah.
So even if I adjust that roster, I'm going to adjust it around those witch elves. I'm going to position everything around it so that core still stays the same. So I think having a strong core is good that you want to stick to, but I don't think not changing a thing is not sensible in this day and age.
Yeah, I will say too, like, you have Teyrathi in your army, right? And Teyrathi,
she's always in every dock army. Yep,
in every army, right? I don't have any armies like that except for Caradron, where I have my Caradron guy named Grumdrinson Forgeheart, and he is an engine master, and that engine master is in every single list you'll ever see. Even in my all boats army, there is always Grumdrinson as the one exception in the army. So
and you could even take it to the level I did, where I've kit bashed Teyrathi as every viable hero in the army. You could eventually do that. I mean, why can't he eventually be an admiral?
Right.
Why not?
100%.
Yeah. And why can't you 3D print a scan of your head and put that on him too? I love it.
They do not own that technology. That is why.
Not yet. We'll get there.
Not yet. That's true.
All right. The next one I soft crossed out was collect and paint in the army, give it 3 coats of varnish, and never touch a paintbrush again. The reason why is because your heroes will adapt and change over time. Neil, you hit it on the head without us even talking about it beforehand. Like, heroes will change. Like, if you have a boat, you might want to put tally marks. You might want to do a little silhouette of, like, you took down the fucking dragon. You took down another KO boat. You want to put those little stamps on there. You might want to highlight up a special character. Or I had one random Canary take down a freaking what was it? Not Gorg Grunter. Maw Crusher. So yeah, I put an Orc Skull on the base of that random Canary, because why wouldn't I? Heck, my old High Elves. If I beat an army with High Elves, I took a random model that I think did well in that battle, and I would kit bash on a trophy. Like a little goblet once because I beat Bretonnians. I had an Ogre Club on a Spearman's back because he was the last standing survivor and held up the Ogre Gut Star somehow. Just cool stuff like that. I don't think never going back. It's not the 3 coats of gloss varnish. It's like whatever. It's never going back. I think you should always go back to your armies that you love, especially if you're sticking to one.
Yeah, 100%. And I even like the idea of that Canary being a like becoming a hero, like in your army somehow, right? Like, even whether you kit bash another one or whether you just use that exact model and just make her a hero, make her whichever hero you want, right? I mean, she doesn't have to have, like, the wings don't have to matter, right? She can just be whatever hero you want.
I already have a Canary that's a Hag Queen and she's on a 25 mil base. There's no reason why I won't do that to her. Or honestly, what I thought about is attaching her to, because I've been wanting to do a second Bloodrack Shrine. I thought about attaching her to that shrine. She's the personal guard of that Bloodrack Medusa now because she's that elite.
I love that.
And then get another Canary model fitted in there somehow. So.
Put a little put an orc head bobbing up in the cauldron.
Absolutely. She's the orc slayer. Maybe put some green. I don't know, but yeah, like why not? I put some green paint on her. Like why not?
Yeah.
All right. Now for some hard crossouts. Do not possess extra alternative models. Just stick with what you got. It's a hard crossout now because of the mentality of allies and what we have today. And I'll go into a little bit more detail in a second here. The other one is never vary or change your army in any way. Resist all temptations. I hard crossed it out. Like I said, because there's other ones in here that say the same thing, but they say it, I think, in a better way. I crossed out this one specifically because I wish to change my army. I don't wish to move away from my army, but I wish to allow myself the freedom to do changes to it. Is there anything?
And the other thing is just like you can very much get into a hobby stagnation with that, right? Like if you have your army, you modeled it, you know, like it just kind of feels like a journey done. Now the game, it's the games, right? The games are the games, right? And the games will change. Every game you play will be different, right? But it just feels like, oh, I can't do any more hobby to this, but I really like it.
Yeah.
Like, why can I do more?
And like, I mean, and then if you go that far, like then the 2,000 point thing is insane because I mean, I have 13,000 points of Daughters of Cain because I love it. It's just so much. So yeah, that's just like I think that's an age thing as opposed to just being like a hard and fast thing. But we're going to go.
I mean, you can make that work with just saying, okay, well, I'm going to make this list and this is this list. And if I want to add more to this army, then I will make a different list with more models or whatever else if you want to keep going with it. If you really want to stick to something like that. So we'll do the better way.
I think both you and I will say that sticking to an army as your core army to just give it all your love, even if you do side projects like we both have, but to have the one army where you're just like, this is the one I always want to take always is a good thing to have. Yeah. Like it becomes part of your identity in a way. But...
Like you're known for your army, right? Yeah. You're known for running Kraith and Daughters of Cain, right? I mean, that's when Chuck Moore sits down at your table. This is why I told you for Brewhammer too. Like you're trying to decide which. It's like if I sit down across the table from Chuck Moore and he's not playing Kraith, Daughters of Cain, I'm be like, well, this sucks. I
apologize.
I shouldn't change what you do, and you're fun, right? But I mean, you're so known for the army right now that if I don't get to play you when I get to play you, you know, it's missing something for me.
Yeah, so. I apologize for my NashCon opponents because I have to take KO. But I've been thinking I might ally in some Daughters game. Anyway, we're gonna go to. We'll see what I do. A couple months away. So I'm bringing up the next one. I'm calling it More Mania because I didn't know. It seemed funny. So essentially what it is, I like it. I just retooled the parts I didn't like. So sample like the second bullet point. Write down your lore of your army to guide your core focus with the army, not never change your army.
You're right.
Oh, there.
Yeah, and actually have lore with it, right?
Yeah, you should have.
Like, and if you're really into it, keep a log, right? Keep a journal, of your games. Like that's another one that he doesn't bring up that I know you have done and have really enjoyed. I have not ever done it yet. I've done a little bit with my Path to Glory games. I've wrote lore off of my Path to Glory games. But I've never actually kept a journal, and I would like to start doing that.
What I will say is, I originally would journal every single game no matter what I played, and then after that filled up I said I'm only doing it for Daughters of Cain. So if you're going to do it for one army, it's a lot to do it for multiple armies, and it kind of just becomes a nuanced mess. You don't know what it's just you're recording for recording's sake.
I would do it for Caradron only, and I wouldn't do it for things like practice games or stuff like that. I mean, if it was a game that kind of stood out, that like I was just playing somebody that I wanted to play, I'd record it. But if I'm just kind of trying to bomb boats in to kind of see how mechanics work and stuff like that, I'm not going to record that.
Well, see,
game. But if I'm playing,
I do record all those games. I record every practice game. Like Neil, the game we had, the very first Daughters of Cain, when you kicked my butt, I recorded that because now I can go back and look at that and be like, you never beat me since with Daughters of Cain. Except for your Neferopolis beat me. For sure.
Oh, yes, it did.
Yeah,
handily too.
Yeah, very handily. And also what I will say is, you want to fit theme. Like I do this. I have extra journals. I want to get you and Matt doing it too because you're both dwarf fans. I have 3 dwarf armies.
Glory journal.
No,
I don't know if that's a good one for.
No. What it's a blank journal that I've made for all my dwarf armies. Neil, you know about it. It is a book of grudges. So if I look at my old high elves, every time I beat somebody, I took a trophy. For every dwarf army, ever since my first dwarf army, I have a book of grudges. If I lost, I write down the person I lost's name, the army they played, and the date. And they stay in that until my dwarf army beats that person playing that army. Now, that army composition could change. But, like, Neil, if I played you with my KO right now and you beat me with your Stormcast, and you never played your Stormcast, you sold them all. You never play Stormcast again. I would never be able to cross off that grudge because I would never beat Neil, the leader of the Stormcast. So you can do a narrative twist even on your journaling.
Yeah, I like it.
And I have 2 extra journals. I'd love to get you and Matt doing that. We'll see.
I'll do it. All right,
I'll
supply the journal.
I'll set it aside. I'll even paint it up and make it look pretty for you, like I do mine.
Ooh, look at that.
All right. So the next, which was collect, paint, gloss, varnish, never touch again, that I crossed off, and I put collect and paint your army, never field a unit unless it's fully painted. As your units and heroes grow and score victories, add a bit more to them to show their growth and add more detail.
Yeah.
To me, like that's a good tenet. It keeps a little bit of that hardcoreness of never field something that's not painted, which I think
gotta get it done.
Which I feel fits the original Stillmania kind of tenets pretty well. All right, let's see. The next one, which I crossed out, was don't ever possess extra alternative, blah, blah, blah. Stick with what you got. And mine is the almost exact opposite. Allies are a great reason to add variety to your army, but always kit bash and paint the allies to match your army's theme fully. The one thing I don't like seeing, and I get why, but like I hate when I go to a competitive tournament and someone brought a list and it has 16 different bases done on it because they borrowed all their models because it's the list. It's like, that looks dumb. And I think even the people playing it,
having just like a base coded army.
Oh yeah. I think even the people doing it understand that, and they're not expecting to score well on like hobby or anything. But if you're gonna stick to like Stillmania, or what I'm calling Warmania now, yeah, like I have about 8 different allied heroes right now. Like I have the Phoenix, a couple foot heroes. I've kit bashed them all to match Daughters of Cain. Even I have the twins from Lumineth because they can go in any order army. I kit bashed them completely using the base kit to be Daughters of Cain looking. So I call it like it's whenever they're spending their weekend with their crazy Aunt Marathi. They get all the fun toys and the BDSM gear that Techless won't let them have.
Going on a little vacation.
Yeah, but you know, like that. If you look at that, you look at it and go, "That's a Daughters of Cain model." You wouldn't look at that and go, "That's a Lumineth model." But you can also tell what it represents because it's based upon that entirely. See, and then the last thing, which was never change, blah blah blah, resist all temptation. It said change your army as little as possible between games to know your army inside and out, but experiment. And I mean, I think that speaks for itself. Like, you definitely want to keep the core of your army, because if you change it wholesale each time, you're not going to learn anything. You're not going to understand the army. But you need to have that experimentation. Like, I want to, like, especially KO. I want to change my amendment. I want to change my article. I want to change my foot heroes. I want to change my artifacts. I want to try spell in a bottle this time. Like, all of those things are great.
Right.
But if you limit yourself, you're limited.
I'd agree with that.
Is there anything I missed that you think, Neil?
I think we've covered it pretty well here. I think you need to post more Mania up on the Twitters for the folks.
I will, although I need to change the first thing where it talks about Nigel Stillman and who he was, because that's not me. Right. So I'll adjust that and get that out by the time this show goes up. But
yeah. So hopefully you guys have, if you haven't seen this before, it's one of my favorite things. It's like one of my favorite articles. It's really somebody who is playing within the spirit of, I don't know,
spirit of the hobby more than spirit of the game, maybe.
Right. Spirit of the hobby, I would say, right? Because I get it. Like if you're a competitive player and this is just like stupid to you, and then that's fine. That's your enjoyment of the hobby, right? But
we're not
I don't know. It really resonates with me and my style of play and what I like to see, not only from my armies but from other people's armies as well. So yeah.
If you're somebody that looks at this and just says, "Oh, it's a bunch of stupid crap," that's fine. That's 100% fine. This isn't for everybody. It's a style and an approach to this hobby we all love. And if that's not your approach, that's fine. That's why we have those psychographic profiles we stole from Magic the Gathering that we do use. It's very true. But this does fit a very specific group. Neil, you and I, this hits pretty hard in a lot of good ways. So, I mean, I'm going to commit.
Big Q, it may not hit as hard.
Yeah, big Q, you might. I mean, to be fair, has this armies ever fit his background anyway? I don't know. We should really look at that.
No, until they come out with actual regular old dwarves. And it's very dwarven of Matt to not like anything else except for that. I will give him a pass for that.
That's true. So, that's very true. He's very
he's a dwarf through and through.
100%. Well, I said, I think that about wraps it up. Hobby commitments. I forgot to say, I did meet my commitment earlier, where I continue to figure out what I want to play in Old World. But Neil, do you have any hobby commitments as we wrap up the show here? And
I'd like. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this by next week. I certainly would love to.
Will it be more finished than it is now?
It will be more finished. These are a labor of love for me, so I try to take my time with them, and we got to make sure that we get the right pinup girl on here as well. Don't know where I'm going to place it just yet.
Hey, I'm not saying you should use Cammy, but maybe you should use Cammy.
You can find me the transfer. I'll consider it.
I will try, actually.
All right.
Yeah, my hobby commitments. Let's see, because I don't really have a ton of hobby on deck. You know what? Actually, I will start going back through my Daughter's Cane and getting those artifacts kit bashed on. So I'll start that process, even if it's I'm digging out bits or something. But I'll start that process before next week, so I can start making headway on that, because I'm in a lull point where I don't have any projects. So that's a little thing I can do even while playing Street Fighter 6, being obsessed about going to a Taylor Swift concert. So yeah, as you're listening to this, please know that somewhere in Pittsburgh, I am screaming my heart out with 68,000 people singing "Shake It Off" and having the time of my life.
Just pushing 11-year-old girls out of the way,
knocking them down. I mean, I'm pretty close to the front, so
using every bit of that strength from Strength Hammer to get those 11-year-old girls out of your way.
Here, get out of here! Oh boy. Yes, and I do understand that if you're listening to this and you're just like, why would you, like, to me it's heaven. I know for a lot of people it's probably hell, but I'm going to enjoy it. So until next week, happy hobbying, stay Stormcast strong, and Neil, you take us out with something fun.
Something fun. You always put me on the spot here like this.
I love it. Make it up.
I got nothing. Stay Stormcast strong, kiddos.
Hold on. Let's end with rock, paper, scissors. So here we go. We're not going to say who wins. All right. So you need to watch YouTube to see who wins. Ready?
Right.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Come on.
Come on.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right. You have to watch the video to see. Comment below who won, and we'll see you guys next week.